Hollywood red carpet, it's a coveted place to be, even from a production standpoint. So, how does somebody get there? Have you ever wondered? Well, today we're going to find out. Welcome to Beyond the Lens podcast, Stories That Unite Us, and my interview with Alice Fuller. Alice Fuller, tell us, how does a girl go from sitting on her blue sofa in Durham, North Carolina, to the red carpet of one of the hottest events in Hollywood with absolutely no ties there?
Slowly. Slowly. It's funny because I made 3 trips to LA before I made that big decision to relocate. And that's why I say slowly. It wasn't a decision that I made overnight. Like, oh, I just want to do something different. No, it was, let me test it first, because what I'm thinking doesn't make sense for my career. I know I want to do it, but want and need are 2 very different things. So I made 3 distinct trips to Los Angeles before I had one of those epiphany moments, when you're standing in or around what you really wanted, or you're standing in what you want to do. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And I had that moment on the 3rd trip to Los Angeles.
What clicked in that moment?
Well, what clicked in that moment was, in the previous 2 trips, well, the first trip was really just to get my feet wet. It was like, I've never been to Los Angeles before, and let me just go. Let's just be adventurous. And I worked the Hollywood Black Film Festival. And it's funny how people in your past sometimes keep popping up. It's like, why are you in my life? Why do you keep popping up? And it just so happened that somebody that I knew, that I had met years before, was very integral in helping me get acclimated to working the Hollywood Black Film Festival. And that gave me an opportunity to learn LA. The streets are wider. You get seduced by all that sunshine and warm weather, and just to get a feel for the industry. Mm-hmm. So that was the first trip. The second trip, I went because I was really trying to figure out, where am I going to work? I can see living here easy, but the working part, because a girl likes to eat and she needs shelter, because I'm small. So I don't take up a lot of space, but I do need a space, and I do like to eat. And so I was really, really delving into, how am I going to make this work? And it just so happened that Maxine Waters came to North Carolina, and I met her and her husband. And I thought that would be an end for me when I get to California. I can look them up and, make that work. And it did kind of work to a degree. But I was looking for industry work, not voter registration work. And I kept calling. I was calling BET. I was calling everybody that I thought could give me, as a TV producer, an in. That's basically it. And the Essence Festival was going on at that particular time. And I'm thinking, well, maybe I could work the Essence Festival. That didn't pan out. But nonetheless, I went back to LA again and just tried to make connections with people. And it wasn't even this time working a festival. It was trying to get an in at the Essence Awards. That's what I was really trying to do. And I did get my in at the Essence Awards, but not in the way that people would think. I actually appeared on the Essence Awards. That was in 2002. And that was kind of a sign for me to keep trying. The 3rd trip to Los Angeles was, okay, I got to have some work, because I just can't up and leave my good job, my good TV job here in North Carolina for a dream in LA. It just doesn't make common sense. So the 3rd trip was, I'm going back. I'm going to do the Los Angeles Film Festival this time. And while I'm there, let me just see once again if BET has any work for me. or any opportunity, period. So I'm booking my flight and everything, and I make one more phone call to BET, and the individual who's on that I talked to, who was another producer, and she told me, I don't know how many no's, because after a while you get accustomed to hearing no before they even say no. It's just like, you're already gonna say no, but I'm just gonna go through this anyway, just so I can hear no for the umpteenth time, right? And she said no, which I knew was coming. I don't have any jobs, all of my shows are booked up. And she said, well, maybe in the fall, or try next year. And I'm like, I'm trying to leave right. If I don't leave right now, I probably will not leave. So let me try to leave while I have this desire to go. And she said, well, here's somebody you can talk to. He runs the BET Awards. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I'd already had in my mindset, he probably going to say no to. But let me make the phone call anyway. So I make the phone call, and he's telling me, well, it's going to be a lot of hard work, and it's going to be this. And I'm like, dude, what you don't know about me is I'm already a decade into my career. I'm not a newbie. I'm not an intern, but you don't know me yet. So can I work the thing or not? That's all I really want to know. It's free labor. All I want to do is get my foot in the door. And he says, well, you know what? Just send me your resume. Oh, okay. Bet. Not a problem. I'm packing to go to the LA Film Festival. I haven't heard yet about the whole BET Awards thing. And while I'm packing, my cell phone rings. Miss Fuller, this is such and such from BET. Hey, dude, how are you? I didn't say dude, but hey, how you doing? He was like, well, you can work the BET Awards. What? For real? For real, for real. You play it. He was like, no, you can work the BET Awards. Okay, cool. So to keep my word to the LA Film Festival, I worked 2 days as a volunteer, got my t-shirt, and then skipped over to the BET Awards. And while I was working the red carpet, I was on the red carpet. I wasn't working the red carpet. I was actually holding the prompter cards, the cue cards for an on-air talent who happened to be on the red carpet. And then when I saw myself literally doing the type of show that I wanted to do, no, I wasn't producing it, but I knew this is the kind of work, this is the kind of shows that I want to be around. These are the kinds of shows, this is the kind of experience I want to have. You got this long stretch of red carpet. You're surrounded by celebrity and music and cameras and paparazzi and everything. And I knew right then, I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. So it's just time to basically get off the couch and make the final decision and just see what happens. So that was the moment.
So then you get out there, and how do you move forward from there? What comes next?
Prayerfully, because, and I say that literally because it's literally what I would call a walk of faith, because you don't know. I knew I had that one opportunity with BET Awards. Okay, that's one opportunity, but one opportunity does not always a career make. Mm-hmm. But I make connections. So it just so happened that one of my old bosses at one of my old TV stations, he had a connection in LA. And he told me to reach out to a person he knew there. And that particular person was helpful in me getting my first real job on a sitcom. She knew somebody who worked on the sitcom, and she knew what I was out there to do. So I'm assuming she made a phone call, an email, or whatever. I still to this day don't exactly know what went down. And she said, well, there's an opportunity. I got a friend of mine who works on the Parkers. It was a UPN sit, because UPN doesn't even exist anymore. Do you want the opportunity? Yeah. Because at that particular time, all I was doing was I was clapping like a trained seal for for various TV shows and game shows. And you can make money doing that. I mean, I don't want to I don't want to ruin the TV magic for people, but you can get paid sitting in the audience and clapping when that light comes on, and smiling and nodding your head and doing they do pay you for that. So that's how I initially I was able to keep a little bit of money to pay for gas and things of that nature. And when I was working that first job with the Parkers, my job was to be what they call a breakfast PA.
Okay, what's that?
What is that? Okay, so my job was to get up at a early hour, like 5 a.m. No, my call time was 5 a.m. in the morning. I had to be on set at 5 a.m. And my job was to make sure everybody on the set, especially the lead actors, the principals, they got a breakfast before craft services, because craft services didn't start until 8. So that's a 3-hour span that people could be walking around hungry. And you don't want your lead actors hungry.
I see.
And her entourage. So my job was to make sure that they got fed. So I would take their breakfast orders. I would rush to either someplace that was on the lot, or there was a Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. The original Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles was across the street. This was on the Sunset Gower lot. Or go down the street to Denny's and make sure they had breakfast. Now, here's the thing. In my mind, I'm like, I didn't come to Los Angeles to feed people. I mean, occasionally, as a volunteer effort, to give back to the world, sure. but career-wise, this is not my resume builder. Okay, yeah. This is that's how I'm thinking about it. Like, I'm serving coffee. I'm busting my beep to go from place to place to get people's orders. Now, mind you, in my whole life, I never had to take somebody's order for food. I've never been a waitress. Never been a waitress. So I'm taking people's orders, and you're nervous to a degree, because like, I got to get this order correct, because if I don't get this order correct, it can be my job kind of mentality. So I'm taking orders, and I'm like, okay, so that was 5 wings, collard greens. You want the syrup on the side, and you got to do that for like 10, 15 people. And then not only that, you got to go pick it up, and then you got to distribute those meals to the people. That's why I say prayerfully. I was like,
and I just have to let everybody know that doesn't know you. Alice is about 5'2", and she's not a big girl. Not a big girl.
No, but
I just had a vision of you loaded down with wings and collard green.
I call it petite power, is what I call it, petite power. So it takes you down a peg, is what it does. Because I didn't see how useful this was to my career. Like, yeah, I'm on the lot, yay, but I'm not learning how this show is done. That's how I was thinking about it. Because I'm like, I'm serving breakfast to people. What does this have to do with TV producing? So I had to step back and rethink about what I was doing, because the reality of it was I had to remind myself constantly, you are where thousands of people want to be. You know how many people would give up an organ, a limb, and do some other stuff, probably not legal, to be where you are, surrounded by celebrities, surrounded by wealth, surrounded by all of this, and you're complaining? Keep in mind, they didn't ask you to come. Just keep in mind, nobody asked you to come. There's somebody stepping off a bus, a train, walk. They didn't have Uber then. But by train, plane, automobile, who wants to be where you are. So get your attitude in check, because there's a blessing in this somehow. You just can't see it because you all in your feelings, because you're a TV producer. That's how you came to the game. That's how you plan to leave the game. But this right here is humbling for you. You're making connections with people. You're allowing people to see that you're willing to work, that you're willing to put in the kind of work necessary to do what needs to be done for production. No, you're not doing the type of work you want to do, but as a producer, sometimes you can't always walk in with the clipboard and be cute and just tell people what to do. You do sometimes have to be the one to serve.
Mm.
And so that one.
Let's go off on that just for 1 second, Alice. What do you think the benefits are for people in general of going into a situation with that kind of a mindset that you're not owed anything? You need to take in everything that you can, learn everything that you can, and just because, let's say, somebody graduated with a degree in, whatever it is, doesn't mean that they're going to step off the bus into that position. So talk a little bit about the benefits of, it was a learned thing for you because you were a producer.
Yeah. So, I left North Carolina as a bona fide accredited producer. But what you have to remember is LA is different. Entertainment is different. The TV production, the basics of TV production don't necessarily change that much. The environment in which you do the TV production, that's where you really grow up, because you have to learn relationship building. It's not about your degree. And sometimes, in all honesty, sometimes that would frustrate me. It's like, wait a minute, how did she get the job? And I'm standing here with a decade of experience under my belt, and I'm still serving coffee, and she walks right into the job I know that I can do with my experience. So once again, it's not all about your education, because education comes in various ways. It's not all about your book knowledge. And so I, as an honor student, I had to learn it ain't about you, boo. It's not about that degree. You are here to cultivate relationships with people who don't know anything about you, anything about the shows that you've already produced or the credits that you've earned elsewhere. They don't care. This is a whole new platform for you. This is a whole new level for you. So you have to be willing to learn those lessons as they come. And you have to be willing to be open, to be willing. Because there's one thing to say, well, I'm going to go out to Hollywood and I'm going to do my thing. Okay, fine. But there's another thing you have to be willing to come in however you can get in where you can fit in. If that means you serve breakfast to the lead actress of a major sitcom on a network, that's what you do. That's your in. And while you're there, you cultivate the relationships that you need to cultivate. Yes, you don't want them to always see you as the breakfast server. You do have other skills. But people hire who they know, like, and trust. Just like we say in small business, people do business with you if they know, like, and trust you. So people have to get to know you. And once they get to know you, and not only, you hear a lot about, it's all about who you know in Hollywood. I add to that, no, it's not all about who you know. It's who knows you. Who knows you? Because if they know you and they trust you and they like you, knowing you is one thing, but if they like you, they like your work, they'll hire you. Therein lies that lesson. So, and this is true for any business, very, very relationship based. And I'm not one to be very, I got friends, but I'm not one to just be open to people and just start conversations with people and things of that nature. So it took a minute because I was so serious about what I wanted to do and where I was going to go. And people would be like, are you okay? I mean, we don't see you smile too often. And so I had to kind of get this mug together, because I'm like, first and foremost, I had to be up with the worms at 5 a.m. just to be on the lot, first and foremost. Okay? Nothing is up this early. There aren't even animals that are up this early. Okay, that's one. Two, this serving breakfast to people is a hard job for me, because it ain't nothing I really want to be doing, first and foremost. Two, I didn't see the value in it at first. So when people would say, are you good? Or the lead actress would be like, Alice, how you doing? And because my whole attitude was like, this is some, but I'm here. And then when it kicked in, like you really gotta get your attitude in check. And because technically they only needed me for maybe 3 hours of the day to do the breakfast PA thing. And then I said, well, Alice, think about it. You're already on the lot. So you've already gotten farther than most. Okay. And you got to figure out a way to stay on this lot. It's not like you got another job, oh, let me rush. No, you need to figure out a way to learn how this show is put together, all angles of it. And the only way you're going to do that is to stay on the lot. Once you serve your last piece of bacon, scrambled eggs, whatever it is, grits, whatever it is, what's the next thing you can do to stay on this lot? So I went back to the lady who hired me and I said, well, could I be a set PA? And a set PA is literally a production assistant who is always on the set, and you're a gopher. Mm-hmm. Plain and simple, you're a gopher. You go get coffee, you go get scripts, you go get stuff. And sometimes there's a lot of downtime. But once again, you are in the environment to learn. Mm-hmm. Because doing production in North Carolina was limiting for me because I had done news, whatever. I hadn't done sports, but I had no desire to do sports. So no biggie there. But there's no sitcom being produced in Raleigh, North Carolina, nor in Durham. That's a different way of doing production. So while I'm on the set, I'm learning, there's a thing called a script coordinator. Oh, there's a format to writing a script. Who knew? I just thought, you just write the thing. So there's a certain protocol on the set. You don't just roll up on the set and sit anywhere you so desire. There's a reason why those names have chairs on. Those chairs have names on them. Okay. There's a protocol on a set. Certain places you can go, certain places you shouldn't go. There's a reason why on certain nights they bring in the audience. So you learn the whole production. Mm-hmm. So therein lies that bigger lesson. You really got to be willing. When people ask you to do things, I think people should ask, are you willing to do it? Not can you do it? Mm. It's not a question of whether I can do it. The question is, am I willing to do it? And when you say you're willing to do stuff, sometimes you have to be willing to do jobs you don't like to get to the jobs you do like. And so that was the major lesson there.
So was there anything that, even coming from a world of production, that when you got out there, the inner workings of Hollywood and all that surprised you?
It is cutthroat. It can be very cutthroat. Even on the what they call below the line production, it can be very cutthroat. And because it is relationship based a lot, what people are willing to do sometimes to formulate relationships just so they can get to the next level, that was a little surprising to me. Not that I was sheltered or naive at all, but when it's staring you right in the face and you have to make a decision, how much is it worth to me? Really? Which is why I'm glad I didn't go right after college like I wanted to. I think I needed to grow up a little bit because by now, had I gone after college, you might have been pouring your milk for your cereal and be like, you know what, she looked real familiar. Why does she? I think right out of college, I would have been too eager to do, okay, whatever. Mm-hmm. By the time I lived a little bit, worked a little bit, and knew who I was and whose I was just like, I don't need to go to that party. Mm-hmm. Nah, don't need to be there. You cool and everything, but nah, I'm good. I'll see you at work though. You get a sense of certain places you need not go. Certain people are cool, but you may not want to go to their house for that particular event and or party. Mm. then you learn too, you don't have to be at every party either. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of life lessons I had to learn. So some of the more surprising some of the myths are true where you hear, directors and producers just ego tripping to the nth degree.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some of that. So some of that was like, oh, so you really went there, huh? Okay, cool. So yeah. So please assign me to somebody who's got sense. just just never put me in a situation with somebody that is that egotistical that they forget I am not that individual that they need to come with that kind of crazy with, because crazy begets crazy sometimes. So and I'm not the one, I'm not overly impressed. I wasn't overly impressed then because I'd already worked. So I had a sense of who I was and the value that I brought. So when you think about the ego trips and how crazy that can be, it's just like, okay, I can work with that up to a point.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, what you're not going to do is disrespect me. And if you do, I'm in that mindset of I can walk away from any job.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need that type of behavior. It is your issue. It is not mine. But at the end of the day, I know what I'm willing to walk away from.
Mm-hmm. And I think with age and experience, also your boundaries become more clear to you.
Yes. And even like I said, I was willing to put in work and put up with a lot of extra, but you have to have, that line in the sand somewhere. And I think that's why they like to get you when you're really, really fresh out of high school and fresh out of college, because you're so eager, just so eager to do anything and everything. And, somebody comes at you disrespectfully, you're willing to take it. But the more you take that, the smaller you begin to feel.
Mm.
And and if you take that in, then you become that person that somewhere, somehow, all of that frustration is going to come out.
Right.
So I was never that individual to say, you know what, I'm willing to put up with any and everything. No, I'm not. I'm going to just be honest with you. I'm not. I'm not. No. So just please, I just was like, Lord, please just put me with people who have sense.
Mm-hmm.
Who have sense. I'm willing to put up with some stuff. For certain things you already know.
Right.
I'm just not.
So then let me just ask you one last question before we wrap up here. If you had a chance to go back and talk to the woman that started this journey, knowing what you know now, what would you tell her?
Think positively a lot more, because you have a tendency to say no when it could be yes. But because you thought no, you didn't go after the relationships that you should have. You didn't pursue the types of opportunities that you probably should have pursued, only because you are already in that mindset that the answer was going to be no. So you didn't try. And so that person then and now, and it was interesting because I have to give a shout out to Suzanne Wong, and she just passed. She was a host at House Hunters. She was an actress, and she was the one that really kind of pulled me aside when we were working together at House Hunters. She really introduced me to thinking differently and speaking differently so that you can, manifest things better. And it was just like, you know what, had I had that mentality when I came to LA, some of the struggles I may have been able to skip over. But because I was in this mindset of it's always going to be a struggle, it's always going to be a struggle, everybody's going to say no, all those things you tell yourself. And so sometimes it got to the point where it's just like, okay, well, you probably didn't get the job because you didn't do everything you could do to get the job because you knew they were going to say no to begin with.
You talked yourself right out of it.
Talked myself right out of my own blessing. That indeed is it. So that's what I would tell myself, a younger self, going into the entertainment industry, whether it's LA, New York, but my story is LA. Go into it not only being willing, but being open to, don't speak or think that everything is not going to go the way you think it's going to go, because you really don't know.
Mm.
You really haven't a clue. All you can do is show up and be prepared when you show up, though. Don't just show up, but be prepared, and don't think so negatively about everything and everybody. And there's enough negativity in the world as it is, so you don't need to add to it.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree with you. Well, once
Mm-hmm.
again, that was Alice Fuller. And Alice, thank you so very much for being a guest.
You're quite welcome.